What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new podcast. This is the Got the Ball Ref podcast, mainly revolving around football, but also dabbling in some other ball-shaped sports, such as basketball or NFL and things like that. So yeah, thanks very much for joining. If you are watching right now, I'm Grimmy. I'm your not-so-glamorous host right now. And beside me, I've got Mulch with me. So how are you doing, Mulch?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Good to be back podcasting again, and good to start a new thing. But I am the awkward Yorkshire one. But then again, you are also Yorkshire technically.
I was going to say, yeah.
So technically, it's two Yorkshire people on a podcast.
Yeah. I'm a little bit less Yorkshire because I've lived in Newcastle for about 20 years plus. But I still have that heritage in me.
I will get that. That Yorkshire accent will come out during this podcast at some point. Maybe
I'm
not
sure
this
it will.
episode, but somewhere down the line.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Absolutely. So obviously we are a brand new podcast and brand new on the scene. So if you do enjoy today's episode or enjoy any part of it and you want to see more, don't forget to like if you're watching this on YouTube, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify. And yeah, let's get that rubbish out the way and get straight into the topics that we're discussing, which, to be fair, this week is all football related because that's all that needs to be discussed, I think, this week with some of the bigger stories. So let's get straight into it. Now, for those who don't know, I'm a Man United fan. And for those of you who may have been living under a rock, there was a pretty big result in the Cup this week. We managed to beat Man City 2-1 in the Cup. And Mulch is shaking his head in disgust, even though me and him both know it was a great result for football. And we saved football that day by beating the nefarious Manchester City. So I guess the first place to start is, Mulch, is what were your takes on the final, and did you see this result coming?
I actually did say that you'd beat them. I've spoken to a couple of people before the game, and I said I bet Man United beat them, mainly because I thought half of the Man City team will still be drunk from the celebrations, as most of you have probably seen the clips of them walking out of the club and Scott Carson getting kicked out at 4 a.m. But yeah, I actually did predict it. Didn't think it was actually going to come true personally, but I gotta say, first half you absolutely battered them. Honestly, very, very shocked. But tactically, Ten Hag got it right, and Guardiola didn't. You just, I saw somebody comment say, Guardiola isn't the best tactically, but really he is. He is. We can't even deny it at this point. Yes, he has the players, blah blah blah, whatever. But tactically on the day, Ten Hag just outclassed him. As painful as it is for me to say as a Leeds fan, you deserve to beat them. And on the day, you were the better team, and with a team that doesn't have the same sort of quality as Man City, to beat them, it should have been more comfortable than it was. But still, you've got a trophy at the end of the day, and it doesn't really matter what score it was. All that people will remember is Man United won the FA Cup this year. So it's a really, really good win for you, though. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So and a trophy to add to the other. I think that's 2. Has he got 2 now, Ten Hag?
That's 2. Yeah, he's the first manager since Fergie to go back to back in like 2 seasons in a row with a single trophy. Obviously, we had Jose with his couple of trophies that he got with I think it was the Carabao and the Europa League, and then since then we haven't actually won anything. And then it's obviously the Carabao last year for Erik, and then this year it's the FA Cup. But no, I think my sentiments on the game are exactly as you say. Like, went into it expecting the worst, and it came out very much the best.
Yeah.
I was sat watching it with my family, and literally about 10 seconds before kickoff, my uncle just went, "Right, predictions, go," and pointed at me first. And I just said with my eyes closed and just defiance that we were going to do anything, and just said 2-1 United, and then ended up happening. So thankfully, my prediction, more hopeful assessment, came true. But yeah, it was a great day. Like, I think it's going to be one of those days that we remember for a very long time. I think especially when you look back on maybe in 10, 15 years, when we look back on Kobe Mainoo's career and how successful or unsuccessful it's been, I strongly think it's going to be the former of those two, because what a player he is.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of those days that even if we go on and manage to turn this sinking ship that is Manchester United around in the next few years, again, don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but if we do, great. It's going to still be one of... I said last night when I was on the Absolute Football podcast that it was probably the best day in terms of being a United fan since Fergie. I don't think there's been such a big sort of swell of joy and like enjoyment out of a game, and like not necessarily in how we played, but the fact that the way we played, fought for every ball, won every 50-50, went after it. I don't think there's been a match that I can remember since Fergie left where we've all looked at it as a United collective and went, what a fantastic result, and really turned up. And the players, to be fair, could have quite easily went under after that first goal for City went in, but they didn't. They stuck at it, and fair play to them. They managed to hold on, because again, when that first one went in, I'm not going to lie, my heart sunk, because I was like, here we go. This is where they kick in, and like, you know, Coventry Part 2 happens and we let 3 goals in the last 20 minutes or something, but they stuck to it, and fair play to them that they did play really, really well. And that first half is what won it for them, really.
Yeah, definitely.
And in terms of Ten Hag, I think tactically, like you say, he got it absolutely spot on. He packed in the squad and made them as compact as possible to make it difficult for City to really get any sort of like penetrative passes into the box or anything like that. I think there was one in the first half I remember, and that was when Kovacic broke through, but then the ball he put through just went by everybody, so it wasn't really too big an issue for anybody to deal with. But, you know, it is what it is. In terms of the whole tactical Pep thing, I'm not saying that he isn't good tactically, because clearly over the course of the season, tactically, he does get it right because he wins so many games and wins so many trophies. But I do think you can catch him on an off day with bigger games. I think if you see some of the games when he played against Liverpool, when Liverpool were chasing them down over those couple of seasons, when they went to Anfield, and maybe a couple of times when they were at the Etihad. If you look at the Champions League final against Tuchel and Chelsea, I think that was probably the biggest example of him getting it wrong when he didn't play. I think it was Fernandinho or the defensive midfielder, whoever it was at the time, and that just left them open for Chelsea to hit them on the counter.
Yeah.
And then I think yesterday, him just going with the normal system and sort of saying we've got the better players, we can just go out and win this. We'll do this easy. I think that was a bigger statement really than it was. But again, he did change it to bring Doku on, and that sort of lit City up a little bit, because it gave him a bit of pace, bit of energy. But it wasn't enough on the day, thankfully. So we did get that trophy. And it's a great thing for Man United fans, but I also think it's a great thing for the likes of Mainoo, Garnacho, Højlund, Diallo as a starting point for them to be like, right, this is your first taste of it. Let's kick on now and go push for other silverware. Whether it happens or not, there's huge question marks over the future of a lot of that squad, and not least the manager. So I think that's what we'll get onto next. So in terms of Ten Hag, again, fantastic result, and probably a decent couple of results before the end of the season as well, with Newcastle and Brighton victories. Again, I know you're a Leeds United fan, so you're wishing for everything Man United to go a bit belly up, and you've kind of had the past 10 years go exactly where you'd want it to go. But take your Leeds United cap off for a second.
I'll try.
Do you think... I suppose there's two questions to this. Do you think Ten Hag stays? And do you think he should stay? I suppose is the two layers to that question.
Yeah, right. So Ten Hag staying is a difficult one to predict, because I guess you've got the new board in now, but is it going to be a recurrence of just sacking managers because you've not done as well in the league as what you should have done, let's say? So that's a difficult one to predict. Should he stay? I personally think he should. Not because you've done bad this year, because not that I'd want you to do it worse again, but I just think, what does sacking him really do for you? What does that benefit? Because he's had, I don't know how long he's had now. Is it 2 years? I think he's had as manager.
Yeah,
now.
This is like the end of his second
yeah.
season now.
So yes, he's got one more year on his contract. So that basically gives you a free pass technically to have another year to say to him, right, you need to get X, Y, and Z next year. You've won 2 trophies now. You need to really kick on this year. Otherwise, we are going to probably not extend your contract. I think he should stay because he's sort of brought through Garnacho, Manu, as you mentioned, and started to bring through quite a few youngsters, which I agree with a lot, because you've seen the quality of Manu. I can't even deny. To be honest, I think he should start for England in the Euros, but that's another conversation. But I just think, if he continues on that path, it'll stand you in good stead, not just for next year, but many years, rather than relying on, say, for example, obviously Ronaldo came back. You know, obviously he's one of the best players ever. So you can't even deny that. But he's what, 38 now, 37? However old he is anyway. Like, bringing through youngsters is better off doing that, because it's just build for the future. And I think he started that. And I think next year, if he carries on that, I think he'll do quite a lot better next year. And you've seen that against Man City. You've seen that in your last 3 games. I think you won on the bounce, unfortunately. But yeah, I think to be honest, I think he's getting there with it, because he's getting the players out that he doesn't want. For example, Sancho, who I know we've had the conversation of, he actually backed him originally.
Yeah.
But then something's happened, and then Sancho's come out and basically had a go at him, and then it's all gone. Just gone into nothing, and now he's doing well, to be fair, at Dortmund. But it shows. I guess it's the whole thing of, some players work with some managers, they don't with others. It's simple as that. That's just the way it is. And I think if he gets a bit of backing in the summer, gets his players back from injury, to be honest, you could be quite a good team next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think we will be a good team next year, but it depends on if we get... the past 5 years of United has been, are we going to get rid of the players we need to get rid of?
Yeah.
Or are we going to keep hold of them for another year and hope that someone wants to buy them, and then have to bring in over-bloated transfers that end up costing us more in the future than they really do at the present? But the thing is, the difference is, this summer we don't have that ability because of financial fair play. So there's already a huge acceptance from United fans that we have to get rid of people before we bring people in. So I think, the likes of Casemiro, I would have said Varane, but he's leaving on a free. You've got Martial with his big contract going.
Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 players really in that squad that are probably easy pickings to go. It's just whether or not we can find the right buyers to get rid of them, and whether or not the players want to go, if they either have to, maybe take a step down in quality of football in terms of whether it's outside the Premier League or a lower wage contract or something. Because I know that was the issue with Maguire last year when West Ham came in for him. So, I do think that Ten Hag is building stuff more in the background than people maybe give him credit for, and that's why. That's my main argument for keeping him, is because if you look at the youngsters he's got and what he's done with them, he's brought Mino through over the past 2 years. He's brought Garnacho pretty much in since day one. Højlund has the makings. I'm not going to say he's like going to be a 30, 40 goal a season striker, but you can see someone who's going to be consistently in the team and produce. Once he reaches that peak, you can see he's going to score enough goals to validate being in the team.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
and I just think with the other players, like Luke Shaw's, if he can stay fit, again, it's a big if we can get a backup for Luke Shaw, keep Martinez fit, bring in maybe one or two centre-backs, again, I think we're going to need one or two in midfield and probably another striker. Like, that's a big change to happen in one summer transfer window.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just don't think we're going to do that. And I think having Erik Ten Hag as that continuation just makes all the more sense. Because if you bring another guy in, like, say, for example, the people that have been linked to it, you've got Poch, Tuchel, Thomas Frank, I think, is another one. Obviously, Kieran McKenna was linked, but he's now staying at Ipswich. But I just think that if you bring someone else in, you're going to disrupt all that squad again. You're going to keep players on that probably those new managers say, no, I'd quite like to keep him and see how he does, when really we should be getting rid of them and trying to get as much money out of these players as we can. I just think it makes all the more sense to keep Ten Hag, and I know we've spoke about it before, but again, I think the build up to the cup final of whatever that was, whether it was a leak or just someone throwing a story out there, I don't know, but like whoever it was, it really was a good attempt to try and disrupt anything, because it really could have. The players could quite easily have just gone, I don't fancy this now. If he's already out the door, why am I even here? But thankfully, it didn't go that way, and they did a total 180 and showed everyone what they can do when they have the right squad in line and the right tactic in place. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see as the summer goes on, because I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later. I think if we don't hear anything probably by the end of this week, it's probably a case of that he's staying, really, because I don't think you'll announce someone else coming in, because I think all the managerial exits are probably going to be happening in the near future, if not already.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we'll have to wait.
I guess a question for you, from me, it obviously being a Man United fan, do you think Ten Hag is the man to take you basically back to your previous ways, like winning ways? Do you think he has it in him to take you to the Champions League and finals and top four, pushing for title? Do you think he is the one, or do you think he's just like sort of a building block?
I think personally he is. I think it's going to take a while. I don't think it's going to be a case of the next 2 seasons we're going to be fighting for Champions Leagues, but I think that's what Ineos may be unrealistically expecting.
Yeah.
I think that there is going to be a big opportunity coming up in terms of any clubs in the Premier League who are sort of top 4, top 6, that if the reports are to be true, because again, they are reports and who knows if they are true or not, but apparently Pep is leaving after next year.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
So supposedly he's leaving in the summer. And I just think with Klopp going this year, and I can't remember what his name is for the final manager that's come in. Is it Slot?
Oh, Slot, yeah, Arnie Slot.
Slot. With him coming in, and obviously there'll be question marks over him, but he may well be brilliant and may do really well and just keep Liverpool at that level. But who knows, because it could go either way. And with Pep potentially going next summer, I think it just opens up the door for either one or two teams to either take over or for another team to get themselves in that title picture.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's going to be United, but if there's ever a time for us to sort of build over the next year or two and get ready for that moment, it's probably now, because again, it was interesting to me that I think it was around the cup final game, and someone asked Pep about his future and how long he was going to be at City. He says, well, I'm certainly a lot closer to the end than I am in comparison to me being here at the start, like in terms of timescale.
Yeah.
So and then when that report came out, that kind of just seemed to link it together and make sense. So I do think that we do have a short lifespan with Pep left, whether it's 1 season or 2.
Yeah.
We'll find out. But again, I do think even though City obviously have the resources, have the players, have the coaching staff and all that to be able to be fine without Pep, I do think there is going to be that initial lull where, like we did with Fergie, once Fergie goes, and obviously you've got other big name managers who left and it hasn't been great after, like the likes of Wenger and people like that, I do think City will suffer. Maybe not to the extent that maybe us and Arsenal have, but I do think City will dip and maybe just be
definitely
in around the top 4. and maybe not winning every single trophy. And you might see a lot of players go. It might be Haaland goes off to Madrid or somewhere, and
He's coming home.
Yeah,
he's coming to Leeds.
Or go to Leeds because he really is bored of his of his time in Manchester. But I do think there's a big opportunity coming up, and I think that's what Ineos are seeing as well. And I think the thing that hasn't helped Ten Hag is the fact that the likes of Pochettino, Tuchel, and all these guys have become free, and I think Ineos have probably just been looking at the circumstances, looking at the situation, and seeing what's out there, what's available, and then they've seen what Ten Hag can do in the past few games, and they'll probably go, right, that's fine. And I think apart from a couple of bad eggs in the dressing room, I think the majority of players do want Ten Hag there.
Yeah,
I just don't think you get that performance on Saturday if they didn't respect Ten Hag enough to put in a performance.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So to answer your original question, I do think he can be the guy. It's obviously going to be a very difficult task because of the teams that are in front of us, and obviously you've got Arsenal now on the up. Because again, I would very much peg them as favourites probably for next year, because I think they could go on a pretty big rampage for everybody. Because if they get that 20 goal striker, I think that is literally the missing piece that they're missing out on. Because I'm not saying it's a Tony, but like a Tony ilk. If they find a 20 goal, 25 goal striker for the Premier League who will get those goals consistently, I just think they'll be able to outscore anybody in the league, and I just think there'll not be many teams that'll be able to beat them next year, because I think that team is so well gelled together, and they'll have more experience from this, and they've got so close. It's now just taking that final step. It's not like last year where they just fell away. They were there till the end this time, and it's one result against Villa, and that's been the difference in the title race. If they don't lose to Villa, they win the title. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, but we'll see. But yeah, to answer your question on Ten Hag, I do think I personally feel he is the guy. It's just whether or not Ineos back him. So yeah, we'll leave it there for Man United Ten Hag, because that's almost 25 minutes of talking about them, and I know Mulch is getting a little bit anxious.
Please,
talking about them.
Okay.
So if he thinks that's gonna be the last time we talk about Man United, he's got another thing coming. So with managerial merry-go-rounds going on at the minute, let's talk about a couple that to me really didn't make sense, and wanted to get your thoughts on them as well. So the two that I'm mainly thinking of are Pochettino leaving Chelsea and Xavi leaving Barcelona.
Yeah.
Like, we'll start with Poch first. I suppose the first question with that is, do you think it's the right move for Chelsea to get rid of Poch?
No chance. Like, I saw it and was like, it's got to be fake. Like, that's not real. Googled it. Yep, everywhere. Poch gone. I'm like, what is going on? They've just had an unbelievable run of games where they've just pushed their way up the table. Got European football. I know it's Conference League, isn't it, that they've got, I think. But still, like, from where they were to get Europe is very, very good. And I think, to be honest, I think that Poch had just started to get his system through to the players. Because I think, to be honest, I personally think Chelsea have a very decent squad. That's a young squad that just needs time. They've got Cole Palmer in, and he's been unbelievable. And I think he was the missing piece for them. They needed somebody who could go out there, sort of link play, but also score goals, get assists, and all that. And he seems to be that player for them. The fact that they've sacked him, it just makes no sense to me. It's like the whole Glazers with you. They're just making sackings based off of, we should be here, we should be there. Well, no, like, you've got a young squad. You're basically rebuilding a team now because of whatever's happened previously. And you're expecting way over the odds for a new manager. So now that they've got rid of him, a new manager's going to come in and have to build a whole new system again with that squad. The squad had got used to Poch's system, and now they're going to... it just makes no sense to me. Yeah, I just don't understand it at all, especially with how well they ended the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they'd have ended the season just as poorly as they started it, fair enough. But the fact that they ended the season really strong just screamed to me, Poch is going to get a full preseason, build the squad through preseason and then go again. But it just made no sense. I don't know what you think about it, but it just shocked me.
My initial thought on it when it got announced was Chelsea are going to Chelsea. And
yeah.
Todd's going to Todd, basically. I just didn't get it. It's like you've put together this squad. Again, it's not exactly the best squad since sliced bread, but in terms of the potential in that squad, if you get those players gelling, they could be a force in the next 5-10 years, like continuously for the next 5-10 years if they get that going. Apart from maybe Nicholas Jackson, because again, I don't personally rate him myself. I think he's a little bit deer in the headlights at times, and I think if you had a bit more composure, he probably would be quite dangerous. But we'll see how he develops under a different manager, I guess, because it looks like it's the Leicester manager that's taken over now. So we'll see what happens there. But I just think Poch went into a similar situation with Chelsea where he had a lot of young players, like he did with Spurs, that needed that bit of development and gelling together, and he got the best out. He got the most out of Spurs that he possibly could. And I think he was on his way to getting Chelsea, not necessarily to the level of where Spurs were at, but getting them to gel and get those results consistently. And he was getting the best out of the likes of Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? Over 20 goals and assists contributions, like goal contributions in the
I
season?
think he had 30 odd total.
He had 30 odd, yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I don't think any other manager would have got into Chelsea that year and done what Poch has done and got them on the run at the end of the season to the point, yes, it's Conference League and Chelsea fans are like, oh, it's Conference League or whatever, but like, it's Conference League, it's Europe, it's something. Like, your past 2 or 3 years have been absolutely abysmal. If you go on a major run at the end of the year, that's probably your best moment, bar getting to the couple of cup finals you've been to.
Yeah.
So, I'd love to know what Chelsea fans think of it, because again, let us know in the comments if you are a Chelsea fan. Like,
definitely,
I'd love to know. Are you happy to see Poch go because of that Spurs allegiance, or were you starting to appreciate what he was doing? Because I think there was a couple of results, like when they beat us with like 2 goals right at the end at Stamford Bridge. That was a big moment for Poch because he was celebrating with the fans, and you could see there was some backing for him there that maybe hadn't been previously. But I just don't get what Bowley's thinking, and I know he's brought in a couple of like football people to help him with the running of it, and maybe like brought in some directors or whatever. But I just don't see how you see, I think it's 1 loss in like 15 games.
Yeah.
And think, right, we need to change it. It's like, if it was the other way around and it was like 1 win in 15, yeah, sure, by all means, go do it. But it just really didn't make sense to me, and I'm still scratching my head. And then when you think of this guy from Leicester that's coming in, I know he was Pep's assistant at City, and he's got that bit of reputation about him, and he's got Leicester promoted on the first time of asking, and fair play to him. But like,
yeah, but the thing is, right, he's gotten promoted, yeah, but all the Leicester fans were complaining. He plays boring football. He don't play good football. We want better football. And I was sat there going, well, you're winning games and you're going to win the league. Well, they won the league in the end. They almost bottled it, to be fair. Because realistically, to be honest, other teams, like, we bottled it anyway. But all the Leicester fans were complaining. So it's something in my head is going, if they're complaining about it, Chelsea fans aren't going to enjoy it, because they probably want to see fast-paced attacking football. So what's going to happen? Is it going to get like 3 months down the line and they're going to go, oh, well, it's not working and we don't like this football, and we're going to sack him and get somebody else in? But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a weird one. But apparently Todd Bowley isn't going to be the guy running it next season.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying before. Is he's brought in a couple of like football guys to essentially run it for him. So he's not just going like Gary Neville famously said, playing Football Manager, buying everyone under the sun. But again, like Chelsea is set up with those pacey wingers and pacey front line to go have a go at people.
Yep.
And this guy that's coming in, to me, from what it sounds like, I haven't watched a lot of Leicester, but again, what you're saying about Leicester fans, it sounds like it's going to be the total opposite to what they may be expecting. So it's like, does that mean it's another big summer of turnover and you bring a load more players in and you get rid of a lot of the players that you had last season? I don't know, but it's not. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad move, but I certainly have some apprehension that it's going to be this great big moment of hallelujah. We've found a guy and Chelsea are suddenly back on top, because I'm not quite seeing it. It may well end up all piecing together.
Yeah.
I just don't see it at the minute.
I'm same as you.
Yeah. So from one sacking that didn't make sense to another sacking that didn't make sense at all, Xavi. So for those of you who don't necessarily know the absurdity that is Barcelona, basically Xavi halfway through the season says, I'm leaving at the end of the season. I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore. Get me out, basically. They then proceed to go on a mega run to a point where it looked like they might actually not necessarily catch Real Madrid, but get pretty close to them.
Yeah.
When Real Madrid was so far ahead. And then Barcelona went, please, Xavi, please stay. We need you. Look what's happening now that you're here and you're getting everything out of the players. Please stay. He was like, you know what? I've turned it round. It's getting better. I'll stay for another year. It's all going to be fine. Cue to 3 months later, Barcelona have sacked Xavi.
Nice.
Why? Unless there is somebody, the only thing that's got me stopping going full throwing the dishes at Barcelona at the minute is they must have somebody in the pipeline that's going to take over. Who that is, I don't know. The only thing that makes me think is maybe, but again, I think if it was Pep, something would have already been said. But like, it's got to be a high level of manager to make them go, right, Xavi, you're out the door. And I don't think it's necessarily Klopp, because I do believe him when he says it's going to be sabbatical. But like, it just doesn't make sense. And when they're a club who doesn't have much money anyway, they've already got a lot of debt burdening them down, and they've already been told by La Liga they're going to have to get rid of a certain amount of expenditure for next year. Why get rid of probably the one good thing you've got going at the club at the minute in terms of the manager? So, yeah, Barcelona keep on being the gift that keeps on giving at the minute, for however long they last with the way the finances are structured. But, yeah, mini rant over. What were your thoughts on Xavi there, Mulch?
I was just having a look to see what the odds for the next Barcelona manager are.
Mm-hmm.
Mikel Arteta, favourite. No, surely not. Nah.
It makes sense because of how he plays and him being.
It's just changing. It's just changing. It's just changing at the moment. No, he was. It's changing. Right, so Rafael So the three names I've seen now, four names, are Rafael Marquez, Hansi Flick, Arteta, and somebody else.
Okay. Someone Mulch isn't familiar with, clearly.
De Zerbi, I think.
De Zerbi, yeah.
Yeah, De Zerbi's up there. So
yeah.
So they're the four. A lot. So I don't think it'll be Arteta. I think he's fine. So I don't know who it would be, but going back to Xavi, why the heck would you say yes, we want you, and then go, last game of the season, we don't want you for this one, and you can just go, just piss off, leave us alone.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I have no words to describe Barcelona. It sort of screams the whole thing you said about Chelsea. Barcelona go to Barcelona. Yeah. The fact that they've got themselves into such bad financial difficulties, and then doing this just screams Barcelona.
Yeah, just Barcelona of the current era, really, at the minute.
Yeah, at the minute, definitely. And as you said, they did get second in the end, I think, of the La Liga, right?
Yeah.
And they were catching Real. They were never going to get them, but they did catch them, so or close the gap at least.
Yeah.
But it just made no sense in the fact of he was going to leave anyway, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll stay," and then just sacked him. Like, it seems a little bit sneaky. But as you said, they must have somebody lined up. One of them 4 managers, I'm guessing, has spoken to the board at Barcelona. But just googling Xavi, he's actually come out and said, "Whoever gets my job next will suffer."
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm like, you're not wrong. He's like, it's a difficult job, and you've also got to take into account that you got to be patient as well, because I guessing because of the finances, you're not going to be able to really buy anyone.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think so, and then they go and spend a fortune on a few players, but you don't know where they get the money
up
from.
Selling people for like magic beans or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we've got rid of them now. Look, we can sell some players. We've done it. So let's go spend our money.
Yeah. So it just makes no sense. I genuinely don't know what to say about it, to be honest. There's nothing there's no reasoning behind it to even like break down. Like what?
I watched it when I saw it come up my phone. I just said, of course. Obviously, yeah, why not? Like,
yeah.
Barcelona have sacked Xavi. What next? They'll rehire Messi as like a director of football or something, and then get rid of him 2 months later. Like it just Barcelona just don't make any sense to me at the minute, and it's generally boggles my mind. But hey ho, it is what it is. And yeah, we'll see if Xavi goes back into management, because I think with the time he's had at Barca, that could put anybody off. And is he going to go anywhere else? We'll have to wait and see. But that will be interesting. So in terms of the next topic, I think we'll move on and we'll try and rip this one off like a band-aid for poor old Mulch and talk about the playoff final. Not going to go into too much detail on the playoff final, because again, I didn't really see the full thing. Obviously, I know you will have watched the full thing, Mulch, so I'll be looking at you for a proper report on it. But from what I saw, it looked like Leeds were sort of battering down the hatches and trying to find a way through, but just couldn't, because I saw the last 20 minutes when I think Dan James came closest by hitting the bar, and a couple more millimetres underneath and it would have probably crossed the line and it would have been a goal, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. So yeah, feelings on that one coming out of the final as a Leeds fan.
Very, very disappointed. I know I have mentioned, and I've said it to you before. This is going to sound so like I'm denying everything, but I actually said I'm not that bothered about going up just because of Premier League football. I'm not that bothered in a way, but I never want to see us lose. Like, that's just part and parcel of being a fan of any club. You don't want to see your team lose. It was very, very disappointing in the because of how well we played in the semi-final against Norwich and how we just tore them apart. Like, it was so easy. It was probably the best game of football we've played all season. So it sort of felt like it was all building up and we were going to go down to Wembley and be unbelievable. And we just were flat. We just did what Leeds do best, kept the ball. And to be honest, we did batter them in the sense of keeping the ball and passing the ball around and stuff. But to be honest, the best chances were for them. I can't even deny it. Like, Ampadu's messed up to let the pass through and then just completely open to the top goal scorer in the championship this season and just let him open on goal. He was never going to miss it. So, you know, there was a mistake there which caused that. But Southampton did what they should have done. They played 5 at the back, which we always struggle against. They sat back a lot and countered, which, again, is something that we struggle against. We struggle against teams that sit back and defend for 90 minutes, which is basically what they did for 90 minutes. I say 90 minutes. They had a couple of spells where they were on top, but personally, I think we had majority of the ball. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We had more shots. They had more on target. And they had the better chances. So there's no I can really say other than it was a disappointing result because I think I'd have probably taken it better if we'd have lost by more goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact it was 1-0 and we hit the bar that I think really
so
damaged.
Yeah.
But no, I think, to be fair, if they get the better chances, they deserve to win, don't they? So fair play to Southampton for doing it, and they've beaten us. Well, they've beaten us 3 times this year. Mm-hmm. So, I can't really say that they don't deserve it because realistically they've beaten us 3 times, so they do. And it just felt like we were pretty flat and didn't really have an answer to that sitting back, and we just couldn't break it down. So, and taking Somerville off, I think at 70 minutes or whatever it was a very, very silly move personally. But he wasn't playing great, but Championship Player of the Season, you just don't take him off. Like, it's last game of the season, you got 20 minutes left. If there's one player that can provide that bit of magic, it's him.
Yeah.
So I would never ever have taken him off personally, but I'm not the manager and I can't really say other than that. But yeah, that's my thoughts. To be fair, I just disappointed. Bit gutting. I'd rather have lost in the semi-final than the final.
Yeah,
but
I get what you mean.
Yeah, but aren't we like the first team in history to lose 4 in a row?
I don't think you've won a playoff.
With six playoffs, never gone up through playoffs.
Yeah, you've never got through, which is mad considering obviously your club, your size, and I know you've had a lot of ups and downs over the past 20 years or so, but like it just seems bizarre to me you've never actually got through when you think of the leagues you've been in and who you've probably faced to get through. And yeah, it's a bizarre one, but again, that's what the playoffs are. It doesn't, just because you're maybe the biggest or you've got the best squad or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get through necessarily.
Yeah. Exactly.
Especially when it comes to that final, because it's such a huge event. It's like it's always billed as like the biggest money game in football, because
it is.
However much, like 170 million or whatever.
Yeah.
That final, and we've seen so many times this. And Southampton, I'm not calling Southampton the smaller team, but like in the grand scheme of things, in comparison to Leeds, they probably are in the grand scheme of things a smaller team. But like, especially with the history or whatever. But like, it's not like a Blackpool who've come into a final and fluked their way in. It's it's a Premier League level club beating another Premier League level club, so it really could have gone either way. But yeah, it's just unfortunate for you guys that it didn't happen really. And I'm not gonna sit here and kick you while you're down, because I'm not that guy, even though I kind of
he's dying to right now.
But yeah, like, so in terms of Leeds, then I guess my main curiosity on it is obviously with Farker being the manager and getting a pretty good points haul, really, in the grand scheme of things for the season. He did a pretty good job. Do you think he should stay on, and do you think Leeds will keep him? And like, what do you think Leeds' position will be going into the summer? Like, with the squad, do you think a lot of players are going to go? Like, what happens next for Leeds, basically? This
is what's worrying to me. Fark should stay, without a doubt. I won't lie, when we first hired him, I was a bit unsure, but now he should stay, without a doubt. Whether they'll keep him or not is another thing. They said they won't sack him, but that's what they've said. Whether that comes about, I don't know. But at the end of the day, as you said, we got a good points total, and it's not just a good points total. It's the first time since 1994 or 1998, one of the two, that a team that has scored 90 plus points hasn't been promoted automatically. Mm-hmm. So realistically, Fark has come in and done his job. He said he was going to get the points to go up.
Yeah.
And with Norwich, I think he got 94 points and went up top, and 89 and went up in second.
Yeah.
So realistically, 90 points would have got second in the first season with Norwich, and won the league with Norwich in the second time. So realistically, he's done what he said he's going to do. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't stay, I would be seriously worried. Mm-hmm. In terms of going into the summer, I am worried anyway, because apparently we owe a lot of money out to teams for transfer fees. That is a difficult situation. I'm hoping some players stay, like Rutter. I'd like Somerville to stay personally, but whether he does or not, or whether we're forced to sell him to get the money up.
Yeah.
I would like to keep him. If not, then hopefully we can get a decent amount of money for him and, basically get that. Archie Gray, I really hope Archie Gray stays, because I think if he goes, it'll be difficult for us to take that one. But I think a lot of the players potentially might stay. Few players who are injured, who've been injured for a bit, like Pascal Strike, I think he'll stay, which I think would be really good to have him back. Ampadu, obviously, we signed. I don't think he'll go. But yeah, we're gonna have to sell some players. Nonto, I think, wants to leave anyway, and to be honest, I hope he goes. I'm genuinely sick to death of seeing him roll on the floor and then just sit there when he doesn't get a decision. I'm like, just get up. You haven't got the decision. Get up and play football. So if he goes, I'm not that bothered personally, and I think he's only in it for himself, really. That's my honest opinion. I don't think he's really in it for the squad. Yes, he's looked like he's enjoyed it technically for the past however much he's been playing for now. Obviously, he wanted to go last year and pulled the stunt of I'm not playing, so sell me. And then the club went, no. So I think he goes, which again, I'm not too bothered about. But we've got a few players that we need to keep. Players like Archie Gray, I think we need to keep him. Rutter, if we can keep him for another year, and if we don't go up, can sell him next year, that'd be, but as long as we keep as decent players, make a few signings in the summer, I think we'll be okay. We're apparently favourites to win the league, but I'd like to think, again, if Fark gets a half decent squad, I think he has the potential. I don't think he needs a top squad to do it. I think he just needs players that will buy into his system and listen to him and be like, give 100%. Players like Dan James, do you know what? If we keep him, I will be over the moon, because he has been phenomenal. Like, he's been brilliant this year, and you just see from his face after the final, the massive cut across his face just shows what he does for you, and the fact that he'll fight for the badge, and he wants it. So, and he carried on as well after that. That's just crazy. So so I'm hoping he stays for definite. Gruev, if he stays, great, and Kamara, I think, will stay as well. The two midfielders, I think, will stay, which would be brilliant because they've been fantastic. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer for us, though. It could be a fire sale. That's all I'm thinking. That's my only issue with it. It could be a massive fire sale, just to raise the funds. But I back the new owner. I think with the new owner, he's got a bit of money as well. I'm hoping that he'll make the right decision and keep Fark and listen to Fark, hopefully, and see where we are this time in August, September time, and see what happens. But I'm not looking forward to it personally, because I think I'm going to have to shed a few tears as a few players leave. We've got a load of players coming back on loan as well, off of loan, like Brendan Aronson and people like that, but they haven't really done anything, so I don't know if we'll get anything for them, but we'll see.
The future will reveal all in due time, I guess. I mean, for me personally, I said it, I know we've spoke about it before, but I just think that with what's coming back into the Championship, I just think that as long as Leeds don't do anything majorly terrible with the squad, they make the signings that they need to make to replace, obviously, the outgoings that are going to go. Because I agree. I think Somerville's shoe in to go somewhere abroad, probably. I think maybe a Dortmund or a Leipzig or something like that.
Liverpool, apparently, that's rumoured because of Arne Slot, because that's his old manager.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
So that's the rumour. I think it is.
I'm just thinking of somewhere that, I mean, Liverpool could develop him pretty well as well. I was just thinking like Dortmund are one of those. Exactly. Taking a lower league player and then turn them into that sort of diamond out of the rough. But
that's who Archie Gray was rumoured with as well. Archie Gray rumoured to Dortmund.
Yeah.
Which may be a bit tempting.
Yeah. Which, again, you wouldn't exactly blame them if they did. But I just think that if you do get that money in, which I think if those players go, you will.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough about Leeds, and they obviously have a history of picking up those guys that are maybe outside of the 11 of Premier League clubs, or picking up the talents up and finding them. And Farke's got the knowledge in the Championship to be able to turn a half-decent squad, like he did with Norwich so many times, and get them into the Premier League. It's obviously after that, when you need to kick on, if you want to stay there, that obviously that next transition comes in. But for me, as long as you replace what goes out to a substantial enough level or a good enough level, I think Leeds will be fine, in all honesty. But that's just me. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but again, we'll see what happens. So enough about Leeds, because I know it's killing you inside talking about them. We'll go from 2 finals that have happened to 1 final that's coming up, and we'll do a little bit of a quick preview of the Champions League final, because obviously that's coming up on Saturday, and very much the Jude Bellingham derby of Real Madrid versus Dortmund, taking place live and in colour at Wembley Stadium. So yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of one of those rows you couldn't have wrote up really, in terms of Dortmund's run to the final. Real Madrid are there again with their squad, which is just an incredible squad in front line that they've got, and is going to get even better when Mbappe gets there. It's going to be quite scary to look at that. But then you've got there's so many elements to this fight. You've got Bellingham going up against his old club. You've got Marco Reus's last game for Dortmund. You've got Dortmund going back to Wembley after they lost to Bayern 10 plus years ago. There's so many elements to it. I mean, Carlo Ancelotti's eyebrow is going to be there. It's going to be a great time for all, to be fair. So I guess first thing is what's your prediction for that final?
Unfortunately, I think Real Madrid will win it comfortably, because I really want Dortmund. I really want them to do it just for Marco Reus. I just want Marco Reus to go and just win that Champions League trophy, and then that's basically his Dortmund career complete. That is it.
That's the cherry on top.
Yeah, that is it. So I'd really like them to win it, but the Real Madrid front line is too good. That's basically it. I think it's too good for even anyone, to be honest. I think at the moment, I think they're, as you said, it's going to get even better, but I think they'll win it pretty comfortably. I'd probably take a guess at somewhere like 3-1 Real Madrid. I think Dortmund will score. I think they'll score first. And then I think they'll sit back and just invite it. And then I think that's it. Then I think that'll be just Vinicius just running riot. And I think that's it. Obviously Bellingham. I think Bellingham will get the one to put them 2-1 up. And then he'll be stood there going, do I do the celebration? Do I? So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'd like Dortmund to win it though, but I can't see it. What about yourself?
Again, I'd like Dortmund to win it. It just feels like, I even feel like if Dortmund did like what United did in the first half, and it was 2-0 to them at half time, I'd still think Real Madrid could pull a rabbit out of the hat here. And go score 2 or 3. Yeah. There's just an air of inevitability about them, I think, especially in the Champions League. It's just like they don't really, if they get this far, it's very rare when they don't win a final. I'd love to know when they last lost a final, because I generally don't have that off the top of my head. Because again, every final I remember them getting to and that I remember watching, I remember them winning. I remember especially past 10 years, like they beat Liverpool, beat Atletico twice, beat Juve, won. I think the earliest one I remember is when they played Bayern Leverkusen at Glasgow when Zidane scored that volley. And I don't really remember them losing a final. Do you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
When Madrid get to a final, it's like that's kind of done and dusted. They got very close to it a couple of times with Atletico, because I think it was Ramos scoring in the last minute in injury time to get them that equaliser. When Ronaldo and Cole were still there, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be comfortable. I think it'll probably be something like a 2-1, or maybe it goes to extra time or something. But I just think that they'll come through basically. And it's Ancelotti winning another Champions League for Real Madrid, and Jude Bellingham going to Real Madrid in his first year and winning the Champions League. I don't think there's many players that could go to Real Madrid in the first season, have the first season he's had, and then go and do that in the same token, and has stepped up so many times and got them through games. I think he scored 2 winners against Barca in both games. I think he scored the winner in both of them. And he's just been such a vital player. It's been incredible to see like how far he's kicked on.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see, obviously, how the dynamic of Mbappe comes into Madrid and what happens there. But yeah, I think it's kind of inevitable that Madrid are going to do something. Will Dortmund pull something out of the bag? The run suggests that they can, but is it maybe a step too far? We'll have to wait and see. One question I did have in terms of going into Jude Bellingham, like did a little bit there. Say, for example, go on.
I've just researched to see the last time Real lost in a final. 1981 against Liverpool.
Oh, well, there you go. It was before my time, so that's why I won't remember it.
So they've won, they've only lost, I think, 3 in total. Out of, I think it's, well, I saw an article saying they've won 12 of 15, and that was 6 years ago. So
That's
they've been in at least 4 more in the past 6 years. 3 more, say 3. So say they've won 15 of 18 finals. There you go. That's incredible.
It's some record.
That is incredible. So yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Thank you for doing that bit of research there, Poch. A bit of fact check for everyone there. So yeah, going back to my question there. So say for example, it's obviously all hypothetical at this point. Take into the season he's had. He wins the Champions League with Real Madrid. He then has a good run with England in the summer in the Euros. Is there anyone else on this planet that can touch or get anywhere near Jude Bellingham in terms of winning that Ballon d'Or?
No, it's as simple as that. He is the best player on the planet, right now, off of form.
I'd have to. I mean, I'm struggling to think of anybody. In terms of quality of player, I think there's certainly people up there.
Yeah.
But in terms of because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, right, so we usually get to this end of the year ceremony. We've got the Champions League final. It's like usually, if you look at Ballon d'Or winners, 9 times out of 10, it's somebody that's been in and around a deep run of either the Champions League, Euros, World Cup, something along those lines, Copa America, whatever you want, whatever big tournaments are going on. Someone does something in those tournaments. That's who wins.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at all the other teams that are dotted around. I can't see Dortmund getting a player that's going to win the Ballon d'Or because they haven't done it in the league. They've not been that great in the league. It's really the Champions League run that they've done. Unless one of them goes and wins the Euros or something, then maybe that gives them a chance. But you've seen how predominant Bellingham is with Madrid, the goals and assists and everything like that. Everything he does for the team, box to box, overall complete package of a player at the minute. I just don't. I can't even think of strikers who have been. As I know, Haaland scored a lot of goals in the Premier League, but they haven't got to the I think it was quarters to Madrid. They went out.
Yeah.
Like that. Once you go out early in the Champions League, that generally ticks you out straight away. De Bruyne was out for half a season. PSG, no one really. Mbappe is probably the closest that could touch him and say a best player in the world. But again, PSG have won the league and done what they do every year. Didn't get past Dortmund in the Champions League. So I can't really see, unless Mbappe goes and wins it with France, then maybe that gets him a bit of a nod and a chance. But I just think domestically and in terms of European competition, the only player for me that I would vote, like if I had a voting ballot, it'll never happen, but if I ever had a voting ballot, the only player I could realistically put top of that list is Jude Bellingham right now, because you haven't got, it's not like what it was where it was that an eternal debate of Ronaldo or Messi. There isn't really someone else who's been alongside him. And I know we need the Euros to happen really to get a proper picture of it. But really, from August, September when that season started to now, there's been no player that's been consistently spoken about and has been praised as much, I think, in terms of overall performance, game to game, as much as Jude Bellingham.
Yeah. I'm just looking at stats this year because there was only really, as you mentioned, like teams and stuff. Obviously, you've got Mbappe. Mbappe scored a lot of goals and stuff in Liga and scored 8 goals in the Champions League. You know, he's been decent. The only other player I could think of, which is the player that's also won the same trophies as Bellingham, especially when they win the Champions League, if they win the Champions League, should I say, is Vinicius Junior, right? So they're the only two really that I think. But from midfield, Bellingham scored 4 more goals and got the same assist in 2 more games. So realistically, anyone, to be honest, I think you're right. I think right now on this planet, he is the most overall well-rounded, can do everything player. And yeah, I think you're right. I think if England have a good run as well, I think that just cements it. It just sits there and he sits there and he goes. If he doesn't win it, it's basically a robbery at that point, I think.
Which we've seen happen in the past. Like I can see how people would go Mbappe because he's maybe done it with France, and he's scored a lot of goals, and he's contributed in the Champions League.
Yes,
I can see that. I can see that probably being his closest competition at the minute, and probably the only person I would say is not necessarily on par with him, but in terms of populace vote, in terms of people around him. I think a lot of the players will vote for Mbappe based on whether it's playing in the same league or whatever. But I just don't think anyone right now is touching Jude Bellingham in that vote. If that vote happened tomorrow,
he'd win it.
he's got to win it, surely.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think everything you've said is spot on. I'm in the same thinking, and I think if we do well in the Euros, which realistically we should, I think he's just unbelievable. And to say I won't even lie to you. Before the World Cup, I actually said to the people around me, I said, don't really rate Jude Bellingham. I don't think he's that good. I actually said that, and then after that World Cup, I went, I was wrong. Put my hands up. I was wrong. He's unbelievably good. So yeah, I think you're right. I think if we do well in the Euros as well, I think that makes it even more obvious. Like, you've got to sit there and go, yeah. As you said, there's quality players out there. You got Erling Haaland. Like, I think he'll win a Ballon d'Or at some point in his career. Vinicius Junior, I think he'll win a Ballon d'Or at some point. You got the other wing as well, Rodrigo, who looks quality as well.
Yeah.
Mbappe, I think he'll win one at some point. You know, all these younger players that are now taking, like, it's not going to be, as you said, it's not going to be a Messi or Ronaldo. It's going to be there's going to be a few, I think, now moving forward. But this year, especially if they win the Champions League, do well in the Euros, it has to be, without a doubt. So, yeah.
And I think if he went and won the Euros as well, I think we just have to anoint 2024 as the summer of Jude and just call it that and just leave it at that and just walk off into the sunset and say that's never being topped by a young English player ever again.
We want a bank holiday.
Sir Jude Bellingham calling it here now. But yeah, like I just think he's been incredible all year. And to be fair, I do think if, say, for example, De Bruyne was fit all year, I think De Bruyne probably would have had a similar season. And I don't know if City would get into the final of the Champions League per se, but I think he's probably going to have more of an argument in the midfield category. But really, outside of that, there's not really anyone I can, based off how other teams have done and how other teams have been affected by players. I just think Bellingham's the guy, and we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for that one. So I think that's probably a good leaving spot for this week's podcast. Again, if you've made it to the end, or if you've left a comment, or you've liked or done whatever, thank you very much for watching. Again, first episode, so just ironing out the kinks at this point and trying to smooth things over. So if there have been any sort of issues like Mulch staring into the distance and not paying attention, or I've had a twitch in my eye or something, I can only apologise. But anyway, we'll catch you next week, where we'll probably have a semi-decent review of the Champions League final, I guess, because I know I'm going to watch it anyway. I might do. We might talk a little basketball as well, because there's got the NBA finals coming up, which will be exciting. So, yeah, we'll catch you there for that one. And, yeah, keep it tuned here if you want to see more stuff. So, see you on the next one. Thanks very much, guys.
See you later.